Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today I want to give you guys a guide from Path of Exile because a lot of people don't really know what they're doing with one of the most important mechanics in Path of Exile. I'm going to be talking about Exposure and Frost Bomb. Now, I think Path of Exile is a game that has like a crazy amount of smart people playing it, but there's just so much information out there and stuff changes all the time that people don't really look into things, and a lot of the time the details make a really big difference. I'm making this video because Frost Bomb is the best and most powerful way to reduce monster resistances, and that goes for all elemental damage. I'll go over that in a second. And most people absolutely and objectively have the wrong support gems for this skill, and this includes literally the highest level players in the game right now, like the most hardcore players in the game. A huge majority of them have the wrong supports for this skill. So let's just quickly go over it and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So Frost Bomb is this thing, creates a pulsing orb of frost. Each pulse inflicts elemental exposure, and this was changed in 0.3. It used to be cold exposure, it is now elemental exposure. It exposes fire, cold, and lightning. So it doesn't really matter what element or combination of elements you're using, this is really good. It is the best exposure because the baseline is a maximum of 50 elemental reduction, and with gem quality you can get it higher. Plus 10, you get it to 60 off a regular gem. More if you're playing, higher quality stuff. There's like lineage supports, you can be playing gem link, whatever. This is really, really high because most other exposure forms are 20% exposure. So this is literally 3 times stronger than all other exposure methods. So it's just really, really strong. Alright, so how does it work? Basically, you put down a frost bomb and it pulses, and each time the enemy gets hit by a pulse, their exposure increases. It starts off at 20, which is kind of the baseline for exposure effects, and goes up by 2% each time a pulse hits them, up to a maximum of 60. Which means that when you do the thing, you kind of need to have the monster in the range, and this is important because, well, you want them to get hit by multiple pulses. If you notice the behavior of Frost Bomb, it starts off kind of slow and then rapid fires at the end, right? Well, I'm glad you guys noticed, because pretty much nobody is noticing this. The most popular support is Short Fuse for Frost Bomb. So supported skills have less detonation time and they deal less damage. Now the Frost Bomb, the damage is pretty pathetic. You don't really use it for damage, you use it for the exposure. So people think that if you reduce its duration, you get the exposure up there faster. See? Cool, right? Well, no. Because, look at it. It's like 3 pulses, right? So if you reduce the detonation time, you're taking away the last 80% of the skill. But that's bad, because you're not taking away 80% of the pulses. You're taking away like 95% of the pulses, because the base mechanic for Frost Bomb is that it speeds up near the end. Now, if you want to preserve the speed up effect, you can use compressed duration, and a few smart people out there, maybe some of you guys, are using compressed duration with Frost Bomb. And compressed duration does make it shorter, and I did count the frames. It does not reduce the number of pulses. So compressed duration, very good. This is an okay way to use Frost Bomb. Do not use Short Fuse, use compressed duration. The downside of compressed duration is that the exposure effect itself, which normally lasts 8 seconds, is also reduced by the less skill effect duration, but this is still a fairly high value, because if you socket something like cooldown recovery, you can basically keep it up all the time, even if you are using compressed duration, for example, right? So that's obviously not 5 seconds in between pulses. Another thing I like to run with it is magnified area, because it just hits a larger area, and if the boss moves around, which it often does while it's pulsing on them, well, you can keep them in range. So this is a pretty good setup for Frost Bomb, alright? Pretty good. A few people do use this setup, and congratulations, you are not a noob and have actually read the words on your support gems. Now, I learned about this more recently, but instead of using compressed duration, or I guess you can use it also, you can actually use overabundance, which increases the limit to the skills, which means that if you put it on Frost Bomb, you can cast it, and, well, it still has a cooldown, I guess. Oh, I guess it triggers the cooldown each time. Okay. Well, I actually didn't try without Spell Echo, but yes, spoiler, Overabundance with Spell Echo does actually cast 2 of them. You can see it double pulse. Okay, and double explosion. So normally, Overabundance has a penalty. Supported skills have 50% less skill effect duration, but because it's less skill effect duration, it's actually a good thing. And Overabundance actually has Overabundance 2 and Overabundance 3, but we actually use Overabundance 1, which is normally the worst with the biggest downside, but this is not a downside, this is an upside, because it actually makes it go off much faster. And if you want, you can kind of see even with that, you can actually stack compressed duration with Spell Echo, with Overabundance. So you can get, like, look at the rapid fire, it's just going like crazy. Boom! So why don't we do that? Well, we don't do that because the exposure window gets a little bit too small. So 2.56, that's a little bit small. If you take that out, you have a 4-second window, you have 50% less skill effect duration, and you can use magnified area to make sure they're in it. And if you are playing like the Infernal Titan build that I have posted, where you use life tap, you'd use life tap instead of magnified area. And just to kind of demonstrate things, just so you can kind of see that, you know, I'm not making things up here. You know, we take some mobs here. If I use this, you can kind of see how much exposure is on them. Look at that. 84. And it goes to 87 on some of them. And the second time you cast it, they are 87. Right? That's a crazy amount of reduction to resist. That's a crazy amount. And then, if you want to kind of see how people are normally using it, so they don't use Overabundance, they don't use Spell Echo, they use Compressed Duration and Short Fuse. Remember, we had 87 before. Okay, these are some of the top players in the game are using it this way. Let's see if I can find a monster here to show you. Oh, those are magic. They have less effective exposure. Okay, so this one here, 31, not 87. And then if I cast it, 37. And then if I cast it, oh, it's at 43. Okay, so don't be this guy. Do not use Frost Bomb with Short Fuse ever. Okay, less detonation time destroys the value of the skill. And I also want to kind of put it out there that these effects are actually insanely strong. The fact that Frost Bomb has a cap of 60 actually makes it stronger to scale than curses. Like Elemental Weakness at level 20 anyway is minus 59, but the Frost Bomb cap of 60 is at any level. Now you need to have Frost Bomb, I think, at level 18 so it can hit targets up to 100, but still, at any level you can get that much resistance reduction. And if you check exposure, there are some really good exposure nodes. So there is 10% effect, and remember, this is on 60%, so this is an extra 6 resist you're dropping, an extra 6. So this one actually increases the baseline, so the max goes from 60 to 65, which helps multiply these other effects. Now on my character, these effects are even stronger, so this does nothing, but this is 6% less resist on the target, and this is 18% less resist on the target. This is 1/3 of the entire Elemental Weakness curse effect, okay? So that is a huge value. And there are a few other things that you can do. Of course, you always want to be using Potent Exposure on the Frost Bomb itself. An extra 20 effect is really good. There is also a rune. I don't know how rare it is. I play solo self-found. If it drops on the ground, I equip it on my character. But this might be expensive or rare. I don't know. But it seems really powerful to me. It has a limit of 1. But because it goes in a helmet, you can actually combo it. Because helmet is pretty contested for like runes. If you get the Abyss unique belt that is set for helmets, you can get that and get extra effect on the helmet exposure effect. And if you're wondering, well, 25%, guys, 25% is a lot of percent, okay? That's 6, 6, and 3, okay? That's 15% more resistance reduction. Again, this is halved against bosses. It is in the tooltip here when you do see, where's the exposure? There it is. Oh, it doesn't say that. Oh, there it is. Okay. So these effects are half against bosses, but for me and my character and this setup, and again, I don't even have the exposure nodes. The exposure is actually lowering the resistances on bosses more than the curses, which do have the same penalty. So that is pretty crazy. I thought this PSA would be valuable to you guys because if most of the highest level top players are using this skill wrong, probably a lot of people are going to copy them, and until someone does this PSA, this chain of ignorance will continue. So hopefully we'll break it. Go get your frost bombs fixed and lower those resists. Thanks for watching.